Hi everyone, welcome to RPA Explorers channel.
I hope you all are doing good, and in today's video we are going to see what's new in the latest release of ServiceNow, which is Washington DC. We're going to see what's new in RPA Hub, RPA plugin bundle, which is RPA Studio, and also RPA sample template. And first let's get started with RPA Studio, which is plugin bundle. I'm in ServiceNow documentation. Here you can find the version history of each releases with the changes they have made. Before we go through the document, let's open the studio and we'll manually try to see different changes they made. I opened my studio and this is the home page of the new version. In case you guys are still seeing the home page of the older version, make sure to do two things. The first is to upgrade instance, which needs to be in Washington. Go to the ServiceNow developer page and click on your account. There is something called upgrade instance. And here, clicking on the latest version, you can upgrade your instance. Once your instance is upgraded, you can go and check your versions as well. Just go to all and you can filter with this, that's .do, and here you can find the version name. So currently this is Washington DC, and the second step is to go to your plugins. Just filter with plugins, and here we can find all the available and the installed plugins. So go to the install tab and filter with RPA and make sure your plugins are using the latest version, that you install the latest version which is available in the ServiceNow documentation as well, which is 9.0.0 in my case. If you don't find any versions to update, you can click on this sync now. So once the sync is complete, there will be an option to upgrade your instance. So you just have to click on it, which automatically install the latest versions to your RPA. Once everything is done, you have to relaunch your studio and then you will be landed to the new home page, which looks like this. And comparing to the previous version of home page, I would say this looks more user friendly and it is easy to handle as well. In the earlier versions, we used to have something called home page, save as, settings, and the entire appearance looks different. And here let's navigate and look at the different options available over here. And the very first thing is create automation, so we'll check this later. And the second thing, home page, which is this, and the next, which is automation projects. And you can see all the automations project which you have worked recently. Also mark something as favorite and you can leave the type here as well. And here you do have the option to open your local and cloud project, which is same as opening your cloud project or remote project from the RPA hub. So when you open your cloud project, just click on this. You have to select your package name and the version name, which will automatically get opened. To open any object from your device, click on open local projects. The next tab, which is sample automations. As we have in the previous version also, we do have list of samples automation which you can explore if you are a beginner in ServiceNow RPA and use it to explore various connector components and activities in ServiceNow. So where you have to provide the location of your project. This is same as the previous version, and the next difference is having the versions in the settings tab itself. And earlier we used to have in the left corner, but now we have something called connected instance, which shows the current instance to which you are connecting. And in case you want to change it, you can directly click on this change and change your instance. And so you can directly access the versions from the settings tab, and this exit will exit the entire RPA design desktop studio. And now let's go back to the home page and see the other options available. And here's something new, which is called build your first automation. And when you click on this take tour, it will automatically guide you to build your first process in RPA. And also this home page is nothing but it is a combination of all the other tabs. For example, automation projects, sample automations, and your tour. So you don't have to use any links to open it. You can directly open them from the resource tab. So now let's go ahead and create our automation. In the previous version, we have three options to create it. First would be your unattended, attended, and skill automation. So here for unattended, attended, they kept it together. So you just have to select between them. You have to provide your name, description, and location of your project. So now let's start with the attended automation. So click demo. Let's click on next now. So in the previous version, there would be no option called next. Directly you have to create your attended automation by providing your name, option, and location. And when you click on next, you have different features. So the first question is, do you want to select a template? So if you proceed with the first one, it can automatically create a blank attended automation which doesn't have any default template. You have to build everything from the scratch. And the second thing, which is select a template. So when we click on select a template, it starts fetching the available templates. In case you don't know what is a template or anything, there is also a link which can easily navigate to the respective documentation. So just here you can see a detailed documentation about the template, and you can select the template and you can click on create. And now let's see the most useful feature, which is using the latest plugin. You don't have to individually update each plugin and reopen the studio every time. You can directly use the latest plugin versions from here itself while you're creating. So there is an option to downgrade and upgrade as well, which you can do it. Now I'm using the latest version. Let's select the template and create the process now. So this is the pre-built template which has everything in place. We just have to add our logic in the respective place. For example, it has a start component initialize activity in which they have clearly added all the necessary component, and also they have added the instruction in the comment as well. Okay, we can look at this template in a detailed way in the upcoming video. So now let's go ahead and create an unattended automation. Name, wherein you have to select the template, and here we have two templates, which is non-transactional and transactional. So based on the name, we can guess one could be useful when we have work item in the queue and one when we are not working with queue. So for now, let's try both of them, and we'll start with non-transactional, and let's click on create action template. So just to confirm, we'll also see if they have queue connector or not. So if you look at the connector, they have only this key value pair connector. So now let's open the transaction and see if we have queue or not. And this is the transaction template and have methods related to queue, and also they do have the queue connector. You have to choose the transaction template if we are working with queue. Now we'll see how you can create your skill automation. Go to the create automation, and there is a drop down. Provide your name and description, and also you can choose the latest plugin for your skill. So once you're done with the skills, you can publish it and you can reuse it on different automation project. And now let's go back to the documentation to see what changes they have made to RPA Studio. We have two different options, new and change. Let's look at the new one. So the first change they have made is use the graceful stop component in RPA automations. So as the name suggests, it is used to gracefully stop your automation. In order to use this graceful stop component in Studio, you have to enable it in the RPA hub. And now let's go to the Studio and check this component. So go to the toolbox and filter with stop. You can find this under RPA hub. Just drag and drop it. So you can see that it doesn't have any input parameter. Let's also explore this in a detailed video. And the next feature, which is convert your local variable to the global variable. Two types of variables in ServiceNow RPA, which is local variable and global variable. If you want to know more about variables, I have already posted a detailed video on it. So make sure you watch that video as well. Usually we create local variable on the respective active itself, and we'll create all the global variables under the global object. And earlier, when you create local variable, there is no direct option to convert it directly to your global variable. Like you have to delete the local one and create again in the global variable. But now there is an option to directly convert it. Let's see how you can do this. For example, I'll just create a local variable. Create a variable. So my variable is created now, and just right click on the variable. You can see that we have convert to global. So just click on this, and automatically you can weave them in the global objects. No USA connector is used to work with web-based or desktop-based applications. So when you are working with a web-based application and capturing some UI element, now there is an option to locate your element based on the XPath locator as well. Let's see them in action now. I have added my screen, which is email ID, and captured two different elements in it. So just click on the element and you have something called locator in the general tab. By default we get CSS selector, and now there is also an option to choose the XPath. So you can switch between them. Similarly, you can do this for all the captured element. So earlier we had ID, name, CSS selector, tag name and the script. Now XPath is also added. When you select XPath, you can also match your attribute based on the requirement. And this is also one of the best feature if you are dealing with a web-based application. And the next feature, which is select shadow DOM elements while configuring screen and elements on a universal application connector. So for a certain web page, we have something called shadow DOM element, and in the previous version we do not have the capability for UAC to capture the shadow DOM element. You can go to the web specific website, like we have an XML path, CSS selector. You do have something called shadow root. In case the website uses that, you can configure them without any issues in the new release earlier. So when you click on capture element, you can also capture now those shadow DOM element which is added in the new feature. And the next change, which is drag and dropping of your component variable, which is made easier now. I don't see any direct difference in it. You can easily drag and drop your component variables or your activities. These are all the new features they have added in this release. And now let's see the changed one. So the first change, which is based when you're assigning your bot process. So when we assign our unattended bot process in Studio, and we will be able to view all the list of robots assigned to that process. Open your Studio, there is something called assign bot process, and now let's select a random bot process. Okay, right now I have this error because I don't have any assigned robot to the given process. In case you have a robot assigned to it, and you will be able to see only that specific robot here. And this version, it lists all the available robots. The next change, which is like they have just moved one log component from general section to the RPA hub. So, and it used to be in the general section. Now they have moved it to RPA hub. The log component which can send messages to RPA hub tables. So in the RPA hub, earlier we don't have an option to view any logs, even though we have used this log component in our process. So now there is an option to view all the logs in the RPA hub, so which we can view it later. Final change is that whenever we launch a Studio for the very first time, there will be a connection manager wherein we have to select our instance and provide your credentials. When we were providing our credential, it will automatically go to the default browser, and it takes some time wherein you have to just click on launch one and again you have to connect them. But now they have removed launching to the default browser. Directly typing in your credentials will land to the home page of the Studio. So this is about the changed feature in RPA Hub for this release. Let's also look at some other changes which I noticed in the Studio. We have two different options to run our process, either by clicking on this run or just doing a right click on this. So we had only run from here, and now there are two options, which is run this or skip this. If you want to run only this specific component, you can just use this run this option, which just run only the selected component. And also there is something called skip this. If you enable this skip this, automatically the component which you select will be skipped. And the next change is on the decision component. Earlier we used to add only strings to it, but now we can also add any operators. And now let's make a quick test on decision. So I'm just validating if the given string is equal to string or not. So for is value, I have just transformed my meta, which is string, and it will compare with the string. If it is true, I'll be getting this message box. So let's run and see. Okay, this is working. You can add any operators to your decision activity, and it's nearly same for the expression component as well. Earlier we can add only the expression. Now along with the expression, we can also add a validation, or we can make a decision. For example, I'll give I plus 1. So whatever value you give, it just add and it will give you. So I'll just, let's run this. We'll preview the data. So which is 2 now. There's 1 which is 2. Let's change the expression. I'll equal to. So let's change it. if you see, the output is of type boolean, which is false, as validating if 1 is equal to 2 or not. Since it is not true, the output we are getting is of type boolean. So based on the expression you give, the data type of the output is also get changed. And in case I find any new changes which will be very useful, I'll be creating a separate video on that. My useful stuff in the studio is this code quality check, not in the current release, which is made in the previous releases as well. Want to do a code quality check for the development process before you push it to prod, you can also do it directly from here. So there are three options like check complete project, current activity, and you can also weave the rules. And currently we have like 2 warning and 2 error, which you can also add and remove it in the RPA hub. So based on your requirement, you can either check the complete process or the current activity. I think this video itself is longer than I expected, so for now we'll just stop with the studio one, and in the next video we'll be seeing RPA hub changes and the RPA sample templates one. So make sure you like and subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end.